Hello and welcome to this week's episode, which is 561 of the Security Weekly News on March 6, 2026. This week, Iran versus everyone, 2FA-Bypass Phish, APT41 drive, iOS 0 days, Josh Marpet, and more on this week's edition of the Security Weekly News.
This is a Security Weekly production for security professionals by security professionals. Please visit securityweekly.com/subscribe to subscribe to all the shows on our network.
We interrupt our program to bring you this.
It's the show that keeps you up to date on the latest security news twice a week. Your trusted source for accurate security information and expert analysis. It's time for the Security Weekly News. Ever feel like your network infrastructure is stuck in the past? Meet Meter, the company reimagining what it means to get and stay online. Meter delivers full-stack networking, wired, wireless, and cellular, all in one seamless, scalable, and secure solution. From hardware design and firmware to software, deployment, and support, Meter streamlines every part of your network while giving you all the control and transparency you need. Whether you're managing a branch office, retail stores, or a massive data center, Meter gives you performance, reliability, and the visibility you need to stay in control. Thanks to Meter for sponsoring. Go to securityweekly.com/meter to book a demo now. That's securityweekly.com/meter, METER. Zero trust is clearly the future as threats get faster, quieter, and harder to detect. But implementing it shouldn't disrupt the business. ThreatLocker enforces default, deny, and execution in a way that remains enterprise-ready, scalable, and operationally clean. Unknown software is stopped cold, trusted apps stay contained, and drift is locked down across the environment. It's zero trust that works in real enterprises and prepares you for the threats ahead. See why CISOs are adopting it at securityweekly.com/threatlocker.
Okay, welcome back. First, we have one advert. Security Weekly listeners save $100 on their RSA 2026 All Access Pass. RSA 2026 conference will take place March 23rd to March 26th in San Francisco. To register, use our discount code, and you can visit securityweekly.com/RSA26 and use the code 56U5 SEC weekly, and that's exclamation mark thing. So we hope to see you there. Okay. Right. As I say, it's Friday, 6th of March, 2026. And first off, it's Iran. They're everywhere. They're just like the West did some stuff to them and now they're just doing stuff back, right? But this is Iran is scanning IP cameras, which is kind of interesting because Israel was also looking at their cameras, but same and similar reasons. But what is interesting here is the observed patterns are lining up with kinetic activity. So not just checking the weather or if there's coffee in the coffee machine. And Dark Reading is calling this out as Cyber-Kinetic Doctrine. And the telemetry that they're looking into on this, that they're pulling this from, is showing targeting activity starting the 28th of February and earlier probing in mid-Jan, and geographic spread that looks over the conflict footprint. And it's looking sort of Israel, Gulf states, and Cyprus. Did you know Cyprus is like a hotbed of like intelligence and all that espionage stuff? So if you want to go and find some spies, you just need to go and cut around Nicosia for a bit. And so the research also looked at Lebanon as well. So it kind of marries up to what's going on there, doesn't it? So it doesn't go as far as saying it was definitely used for targeting, but what it is saying is the activity is consistent with operational support and BDA, which is Battle Damage Assessment, and they're pointing out the timing alignment as the core analytics on this. Look, this is looking towards like attributing to camera targeting infrastructure. And like, if we're like, it is Iran doing this, they're definitely trying to do it. That's what it definitely looks like. But I'm very, very sure that other more sort of Western governments are definitely doing this. Like, no, everybody's inside of everything. It looked at Hackvision and Dahoo exposure, and these all have classes of bugs that nobody updates, and improper auth bypass, command injection, RCE paths. And also there's, if you are in this world and you have cameras looking at things that people care about, you should look at this and look at sort of the behavior and the detection angle of the repeated auth attempts, config endpoint probes, and exploit path requests, and outbound connections from camera segments that doesn't have a reason to talk to anything. But it's like, I guess if you have cameras looking at anything important, you're going to be really good at this, aren't you? Are you? But there's CVEs tried through it as well. But look at this, CCTVs as a center layer in someone's kill chain, and not just a camera looking at a coffee pot, right? Okay, next. British authorities issue cyber alert as former FBI chief warns Iran will retaliate with ransomware and digital sabotage. I guess what this is saying is they've been poked, they're in a really bad state, then they're probably most definitely just going to throw everything out there in the most exposure to hit the most people, right? So the statement goes, no current significant change in the direct cyber threat from Iran to the UK, this one's come from, but an almost certain increase in indirect risk, right? So I don't know, this is all hard to contain, but organizations with a Middle East presence or supply chains and anything that's connected to anything that Iran thinks is bad to them, stuff's just going to get chucked at it. This indirect spillover of shared vendors, shared hosting, shared identity platforms, Iran is just opportunistic targeting. So do what you're doing, do it well, but I would expect, well, if at any time they're going to burn their 0-day equity, it's going to be now, right? So some enhanced monitoring is probably going to help. It's funny because when I was looking into this morning, and way back in 2022, Albania actually called them out and even cut diplomatic ties at the time, sort of just because of what Iran were doing. They were saying this time it wasn't below the threshold. So I guess earlier in the week when we were talking about Iran and we were talking about how the Western side, America and Israel, sort of really nearly brought the whole of their internet to the ground, right? They are going to push stuff out, and there was a documented sort of article recently about an attempt against Boston's Children's Hospital from Iran. So look, nobody's safe. It's basically when something's under pressure, it's going to lash out, and expect Iran to lash out. And it's going to be DDoS stuff. There's going to be ICSOT stuff. So look for it. Okay, next one. Israel's cyber chief, the article is brilliant, navigating through the dystopian cyber AI period. Okay, AI. It's like they giveth and it taketh away, right? But what this article is saying, and it rings true, right? And as I say, it gives and it takes. But this is specifically calling out that the attacker throughput faster than it increases defender throughput. So, yeah, if you're the attacker, you can fire stuff really fast, and obviously it takes longer to assimilate the sort of defense side. But so it's saying here, the operational shift is higher volume, faster iteration, fewer obvious artifacts. And this is saying an implied strategic pivot. So it calls out the protect crown jewels hard sort of model here. And it says this breaks down. And what you have to accept is you stop optimizing purely for prevention and start optimizing for continuity under compromise. You need to look at, and I actually went to a dinner on this the other night, and they are all talking about the sort of new buzzwords, and that is sort of like detecting at machine speed and stuff. But you really need to look at fast containment, fast resort, and the ability to keep critical services running. This is moving fast. I actually, at the dinner the other night, there was a lot of discussion about low-level SOC analysts disappearing because of this technology that's being used now, and alongside Microsoft Defender and that is actually detecting and containing at machine speeds, because that's faster than a person, right? Maybe. But the reports, like, it's like alertings going through the roof, and peaks of sort of alerting that's happening during operations. And this article's calling out sort of Israel asking or talking about more cyber laws, because like as if the SEC and the Monetary Authority of Singapore and GDPR all having different and complicated reporting times. Israel, who's basically always on a war footing or preparing for war or at war, they're like calling for visibility earlier. So actually bringing into law that the reporting window of 24 to 72 hours should more or less become immediate, so they understand what's going on. But yeah, look, things are changing, things are moving faster. SOCs are going to have to change. They're going to have to move faster. I don't know, every week there's like a new story about AI and how it's changing, and it's really difficult to keep up. But I think if I was a SOC with lots and lots of employees, I'd probably be thinking about upskilling them employees and the sort of lower level analysts, because machines can do it quicker, but it's going to need human oversight and heuristics and tuning and stuff. But look, there's sign-in risk, token reuse, anomalous access paths. It's like what we need to look at here is, as AI moves forward and makes things look prettier and you don't have like bad writing and stuff, you need to look at impossible travel patterns and actions inside cloud tenants that don't match human workflow. So yeah, AI giving, AI taking, and more taking than giving. I'm not sure. Who knows? AI, right? Do you love it or hate it? Okay, next. Europol-led operation takes down Tycoon 2FA Phishing-as-a-Service linked to at least 64,000 attacks. It's like, where did they get that number? It's a number that comes up in cyber all the time, isn't it? It's like they just pulled it out of nowhere. Okay, it says take down, but look, this was, and will be again, industrialization of initial access. It was service layer that made adversary in the middle. Adversary in the middle is really hard for me to say because it used to be another name, right? And we could just say person in the middle or people in the middle or machine in the middle, but it's adversary in the middle. But credential and session theft routine at scale with commercial operator experience. And this article, the first one I read on this, was from the Hacker News, and it summarizes the economics and distribution. And there's Telegram signal sales, there's subscription pricing, an admin panel workflow that operators can run without deep skill, because that's where we're going. You literally, I could go on to this and hack stuff. That's how easy it probably is. Microsoft, under a court order, had seized 330 active domains that powered control panels and fraudulent login pages. And you should Google actually how little money Europol and Interpol work on. It is so little money, it's unbelievable. It actually scares you. It's like less money than Josh gets paid. Look, the scale of this is big. Microsoft talking about it. Hi, Josh. Microsoft talking about it. And they were saying 62% of phishing attempts were blocked, including 30 million plus emails in a single month. And like, they're estimating that there's like 96,000 distinct victims. Look, Proofpoint was calling it the highest volume AITM, adversary in the middle phishing threat, that they were tracking. And the geographic analysis of this shows heavy concentration in the US, but also with a UK footprint. So 64,000 plus phishing incidents, tens of thousands of domains. So quite a lot of it. So, hey, it's good that that's come down, but it'll pop up again somewhere else. It's like whack-a-mole, isn't it? Okay, next. APT41 linked Silver Dragon targets governments using Cobalt Strike and Google Drive C2. So Silver Dragon has targeted organizations across Europe and Southeast Asia since at least mid-2024, with a focus on government entities, and is assessed as likely operating under the APT41 umbrella. Yeah, because we love numbers, because they mean a lot to us. So initial access is standard and still effective. Exploitation of public-facing servers and phishing emails with malicious attachments. There's a lot of persistence here, which is quite interesting. And obviously, because when we look at this APT space, they hijack legitimate Windows services, so malware processes blend into normal activity, right? And then deliver Cobalt Strike, and there's talk, and it goes into DNS tunneling for C2 to evade normal, average, boring network level detection. Some of the infection chains, if you're into that type of stuff, who isn't into chains, right? Like, and infection chains are just chains. I don't know. We should all buy chainmail. If you're into that stuff, it leads to Cobalt Strike, but there's app domain hijacking via RAR archives, and that's just normal sort of batch script copies and all that cool stuff. And look, how well do you know your DLL? Because stuff lives in there, and service DLL persistence, like, they literally register or hijack a Windows service to load an attacker-controlled DLL. This is where this stuff lives, right? And can you really, when you're looking at DLLs, can you go, oh yeah, I know totally what that one does? Probably not. There's also phishing chains using malicious LNK attachments with all the good living off the land type stuff, PowerShell and DLL side loading and Bamboo Loader, and then of course Cobalt Strike, because Cobalt Strike is so much fun. Because like, would you really have that on your system? It's like, does anybody use it for good? The interesting stuff here that called out of it, I don't know how many of you use Google Drive at an enterprise level, like maybe companies with not a lot of money are thinking they're a bit cool or something like that. But it is being used for command and control channel. And if you implicitly trust Google Drive, well, you'd have problems with this type of command and control. So you probably want to look at why you would do that or what you would let it do. And you really, really look, when it comes to DLL registries, have a look and learn what should be in there, and if it changes, what's happening, because it probably it could be very telling, because a lot of people hide stuff in there. Okay, right. One more story from me, and then Josh, who's sitting there patiently over my right eye here. Starkiller phishing suite uses adversary in the middle reverse proxy to bypass multi-factor authentication. Right, this Starkiller, which weirdly is a name of a security tool, but this one isn't the security tool, but it's using headless Chrome inside Docker, loads the target brand's sort of real website, and acts as a reverse proxy so victims see genuine content, while every keystroke and session token traverses attacker infrastructure. And there's another famous tool that we all used in our day one, week one hacking course, or that rubbish SANS course, or actually that was the only kind of good SANS course I ever did. Anyway, let's not go there. I'll get in trouble. Right. It's marketed by a group calling itself Jinkusu, and it's sold as a commercial platform, explicitly positioned like a SaaS product, and its capabilities are listed as the ones you would expect: real-time session monitoring, key logging, cooking and session token theft for direct count takeover, target geo-tracking, Telegram alerts, and analytics dashboards. There's URL masking here, and it's familiar stuff. User info at domain method, making the part before the at appears as a recognized brand, while the true domain follows the at symbol. And look, it like the stuff to help you here is looking at phishing resistant auth where possible. And if you're not doing that, you really need to. Josh, over to you, dude.
Well, hello, sir. How are you?
I'm good, apart from the fact I've had a headache and I was running on not very much sleep, but I'm better now. It's the afternoon. It's nearly the evening here.
It's 12:30 here, so it's what, 5:30 there?
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Oh wow, yeah, it's getting close to evening there. So I have an interesting article, and it's not the newest of articles. It's a couple of weeks old, but it keeps getting worse, and it's about Android malware that is not only present in over 13,000 devices, but what's really interesting to me is where it comes from. Because it's not something you pick up by clicking on some link. It's not something you pick up by downloading an app, although that's possible. It's actually in the firmware of the devices. There are applications and devices that have this malware present in the firmware from the moment you buy it, from the moment you download it, from the moment you purchase it. And because this malware is in the firmware, it's below the sandbox layer. It is a classic style backdoor and remote access. It is full access to everything on your Android device. It can take your banking credentials. It can install apps that you didn't know about. It can cryptojack you. It can steal your banking. So banking Trojan. It can. Right now, they're only using it for ad fraud. To be honest, in a sense, they're the nicest malware people I know because they're only doing ad fraud. But that's not all it can do. And so it's significantly terrifying because it has full access to your device. It's able to open invisible browser tabs. It's open, which is what they're using for ad fraud. Of course, they're clicking on things in browser tabs that you don't see. But obviously, that's stealing your phone's productivity, your ability to use it. It's going to slow it down, drain the battery, do all sorts of nasty bits. But again, realistically, all right, that's not fun, but it's not going to hurt me. What's going to hurt you is when they say, we should just steal your cryptocurrency tokens, and we should just steal your money out of your bank account, and we should just data Oh, look, you work for that company? Ooh, what data can we exfiltrate from your work profile? Because again, it's below the sandbox level. Now, will that break a mobile application management, MDM, EMM, whatever acronym soup you want to talk about today? Don't know. Hasn't been tested yet as far as I could tell by reading the article. Terrified that it could, in which case, you want that personal phone to act as your work phone, and so you have that work profile? That's a sandbox. Remember, this is below the sandbox. So it's it's really uncomfortable because very honestly, these are getting over the air OTA firmware updates and application updates. Boom, you're done. This is present in the firmware of Android tablets from multiple makers. The first one they found was the AllDoc Cube or the Aldo Cube. I don't know. iPlay 50 Mini Pro. I've never heard of this brand before. I'm terribly sorry. But if you knew how many brands of Android tablets there were out there, you'd be like, yeah, I've never heard of that one either. It's no big deal. There's 75 gillion brands. The OTA server in 2024 figured out that their OTA server had been compromised. Okay. And a threat actor inserted malware in the firmware. All right. That was 2024. The malware, by the way, was dated 2023, so they've been working on this for a while. It's now 2026. Why am I talking about this? Because it's been discovered again and again and again and again and again, and it keeps coming back out. The fact is they discovered that their server had been, their OTA update, the update server, the firmware update server, had been compromised in 2024. It took until 2 years later now for them to realize that malware is still there. So it's still updating Android tablets. There are multiple brands that it now is in. There's firmware images, backdoors, system apps, modified apps from unofficial sources, and it's even on apps on Google Play. So there's many, many variants of this backdoor Kinadu, Keenadu. So like Xanadu, but for the bad side. Okay. So there's multiple variants of Kinadu, and every one of them has their own set of capabilities. It's almost like a kit. How do you want to deliver it? What capabilities do you want it to have? And no problem, put it together and boom, here you go. Put it in your own delivery mechanism. So again, we see that the malware and malicious ecosystem is comprised of many different layers. I'll write the malware, you distribute the malware, you use the money mules to get the money out. It's sophisticated stuff, man. And so Android right now, I'll be honest with you. Oh, and by the way, one other thing. If you're a China-based device, it doesn't activate. I'm not saying that's where it's from. I'm not saying that's where it's from. But I'm kind of saying that's interesting, if you know what I mean. Anyway, if you have an Android tablet, if you have an Android device these days, and you run anything other than stock Android apps with a absolutely guaranteed clean firmware, which I don't know how you're going to do that these days, yeah, you're in trouble. I'll be honest, I'm pretty happy I'm on an iPhone, just because. Back to you, Aaron.
I love that you just did the Android sort of one there, and without sort of segueing together, I'm going to do an iOS exploit kit. But it's like, basically, in my eyes, it's, if you're using an Android, you deserve to be hacked, and you're asking to be hacked. And like, it's like, why would you do that to yourself? It's like, oh my God, I'm so cool. Look at all these cool things I can do on my Android phone. It's like, just get an iPhone, and then if you want to do them things, get a separate phone. But I
have a separate Android phone just for doing those apps.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I remember like when I was leaving the Air Force and then trying to get a sort of real job in the real world, and I was like, let's put Kali Linux on an Android phone. It's like, because that's the number one thing not to tell people when you want a job in cyber, that you use Kali. But anyway, okay, thank you, Josh. It's like, yeah, Android, don't do it. Right. Karuna iOS exploit kit uses 23 exploits across 5 chains targeting iOS 13 to 17.2.1. And of course, everybody's in the 20s now and nobody's still on that. Are you? Did you jailbreak your phone? Are you still on an old iOS? Do you have a iPhone 6 or something? I don't know. I was playing around with an old iPhone the other day, and I basically couldn't put any apps on it anymore because the iOS was so far back in the dark ages. But okay, Google's threat intelligence group, GTIG, it's also, they're calling it Karuna and Crypto Waters, and as I said, like 5 full exploit chains and 23 exploits. Sounds like something the Israelis would do and then sell it to everyone and then end up for the rest of their life in court, because people use good things for bad reasons sometimes. But okay, right. This is interesting because it's moved, and this is tracked by Google Threat Intelligence Group. 2025, and moved from a customer of a surveillance vendor to watering hole attacks targeting Ukrainian users by a suspected Russian espionage cluster, and then into broad-scale financially motivated campaigns attributed to a Chinese-based threat actor. They don't know where the path of proliferations come from here, but it's like, this is unusual in a way that something's gone from there in the APT world straight into like financial crime. So it's being used by not the normal APT type business. Mitigations, it doesn't work on the latest iOS. So update your phone, and if you can't do that because you've done naughty things to your phone, you probably need to look at a lockdown mode or something like that. iVerify, like look up iVerify if you have like an iPhone and stuff like that. They're doing some pretty cool work in the space, and especially if you're like someone really important that an APT might want to hack, you maybe want to send them a file so they can have a look and see if you've been hacked. But look, there's descriptions here as a Safari remote code execution plus local privilege explanation. can't say that today, escalation, delivered as a waterhole and apparently orientated towards cryptocurrency wallet targeting. So yeah, some really smart people have had their crypto wallets hacked. Be careful. Okay, right. If you're in enterprises and you are letting iOS drop down below the newest one, you're probably in trouble. Okay, that's it for me this week. Thank you from me. Thank you from Josh. Josh does a dance in the background. And Doug will be back from his conference next week. I just actually seen a really fun picture on the socials of Josh, not Josh, Doug. Who knows? Who are all these people? Anyway, so tune in next week for his Jolly Japes. I'll see you next Tuesday. Peace out, party people.